I had a recent request from a viewer who's looking at one of my tutorials on how to get a list of all the shared drives that you have access to in Google Drive. And they wanted to know how to find out who the creator was of the shared drive. If you are unfamiliar with shared drives, they're accessible with a paid Google Workspace account, and they are drives owned by the Workspace account, not necessarily an individual. So you can't look up who the owner is, but you can look up who created the drive. Let's have a look at my example here. We've got a test drive here, and on the right hand side we've got this activity list of what all the goings on for this folder. Now if we scroll down to the bottom, we can see the very first action that occurred for this test drive shared drive, and that was tester account created this shared drive. So in Google Apps Scripts, we need to find out who created this test drive shared drive account, and our response should be the test account owner and preferably their email. So let's head into our Google Apps Scripts and get started. It's not as smooth as it might think it would be using the Google Drive Advanced service. We need to add in 2 extra services for our Google Apps Script project. So let's go into services here and hit the plus button. And the first one we need is the Drive Activity API. And we'll keep the identifier as it is and we'll hit add. So what's the Drive Activity API do? Well, Drive Activity API allows us to monitor what's going on in our Google Drive and all the activities that occurred. So when you click on a drive or a file or a folder, you get the details of that file or folder, and you also get the activities or actions that occurred on that file or folder or subdirectories. Getting these activities here is what you can do with the Drive Activity API. So let's add in another service here, and that's going to be the admin SDK. And this will come up with admin directory. Now, admin directory enables you to look at groups within your domain and grab their names and user details along with a whole bunch of other admin exclusive roles. Now, if you're not an administrator, you can still use this admin directory SDK. However, it will be limited to what you can see publicly. But we'll go into that in a moment. All right, what we do want to do though is create our function. So let's call this get shared drive creator. And what do we want to input into our shared drive creator? Well, we want the ID. Because we're building off a previous tutorial where we already got a list of all our IDs related to a shared drive, we won't go into how to access those, but if you want to learn how to do that, there will be a link up above for you to access that tutorial around about now. But let's put in a dummy one for now, and we'll make this a runsies function, so a sample function. So function called runsies, and that's just going to run this here. Now, runsies could be anything you want it to be. It could be you getting a list of all the IDs of shared drives you have in your account and iterating through them on the shared drive creator function. Okay, so what's our ID going to be? Let's make a const here, ID equals, because we're testing, let's just go over here and click on this test drive, and we'll just grab this ID for now and put this in double quotation marks. Again, you could access this programmatically. This will be the runsies function that will call get shared drive creator. And let's just put a constant here, and we'll call this shared drive creator, and then we will also console log the result for now. Cool. So let's just put in some comments up here. So it is get the shared drive creator. Of course, you go into more details on your own, but you don't want to see me writing comments all day. So our first parameter, our first and only parameter is the ID. And that's going to be a string. And that is the shared drive ID. And we are going to return a string, and that will be the email of the shared drive creator. Cool. All right, now we've explained our function. Let's go and start to create it. So the first thing we need to do is check the activity log for the selected folder in the ID. So to do this, we will create a constant, so that's a variable that doesn't change, and call this activity. And that's going to be equal to drive activity, this advanced service here that we've added in, and then we're going to get the activity again, and then we're going to make a query. And inside that query, so we'll make some rounded braces. Inside that query, we are going to put in an object. And the first item in that object is the item name, so item name. And that item name is going to be equal to the ID plus the item. So they have a funny way of incorporating these IDs or these item names. You need to declare that it is an item first, or items first. And then you need to add in the ID. So it will make a string items / and then the ID number. Weird, I know, but that's just the class. So right now, if we just left everything as it is, and let's just make a bit of a space here, and let's just console log what we've got. All right, it's going to be a really long string of data, and a lot of the properties are going to be hidden. So let's just stringify it with a bit of JSON, stringify magic, and we'll add in our activity, and we'll make the next parameter null, and then we'll just put a little space there. So it just opens up when we see what we're doing. We'll just return nothing at the moment. No. Cool. We'll fix that up in a sec. All right, we'll hit save, and let's just run our runsies. We're going to run our runsies for the first time, just to do a test to see what comes out of this. Of course, let's hit run. Let's do a quick authorization of all our permissions. Cool. All right, so we've got some good results here. Okay, so in our activities object, we've got a list of all the actions that occurred on this particular folder. So what we're looking for in here is person name or people and then a name. So this value here is the ID of a person with a Google account. So there'll be a couple of these. So perhaps if we go Control F and say people /, that'll help highlight what's going on. So under each action, there's an activity that they're associated with. We can see here, people have been assigned things and organized files all through this, but it's not exactly helpful for what we're after. Let's refine our search using a filter now. Let's go back up into our activity object, and this time we're going to type in filter and a colon, and here we can type in detail.action underscore detail and then underscore case. And this way we can narrow down into what it is we're actually looking for. We can use the create search option here. Nice. So you'll see this time round when we run our runsies function, we'll get a much smaller object that'll just focus on who created this shared drive. Nice. So if we run our little search again, we can see people's only appeared once, and that's going to be the creator of the shared drive. But we only have the person's ID. We don't have their email. How do we get the email from this weird ID that's appearing? Well, the first thing we need to do is extract the person's ID first. So let's go ahead and do that. And we can keep this console log for the time being. And let's create another constant. And we'll call this person name is equal to. And now we need to traverse this object. So let's go back to our logs here. So it's going to be activity because that's what we've named this object. And then activities, and it's going to be the 0th item in the activities array. And then actors is going to be the 0th actor because we're only looking at the who created. And then we should look for user, known user, person name. Okay, I think we can handle that. Let's give it a go. So let's type in activity. Then activities, and we want the 0th item in there. And from that, we want actors. And inside our actors, we want user dot known user, this one here. Thank you for helping. And then we want the person name. And that should return that unique ID. From that, we don't want that first part where it says people and /. So let's just extract that as well. Let's create a new variable called const account ID, and that's going to be equal to person name. And from this, we'll make a substring because we know it's not going to change. That first part is not going to change in length. So let's make our start number after 7. So it was people /. I'm going to hold my hand up and count on my fingers. PEOPLE /. I have 7 fingers up. So let's put 7 down here. All right, and finish that up. And let's just do a little test. Make sure we counted on our hand correctly. Console log, account, ID, this one here, and hit save. Let's hit run to run our runsies again. Okay, yeah. So 10244, 10244. We haven't cut anything off and we haven't got our list early. Perfect. So we've got the ID now. Okay, so what's our next task? So now we can use the admin SDK to access the user's email with the key being our account ID. What we'll do, we'll make a let variable, so that's one that can change, and we'll call this user. And let's make a try and a catch statement. So we'll say try, catch. We'll put in our little E for error and another little curly brace. And let's just expand these out now. Nice. Cool. All right, so we're going to do 2 things here. Our priority is to try and use the admin directory as an everyday user, not a super admin like I have when I'm using this current account. So we can do that by invoking the domain public view type and then running the script to get the email address. Now, if I'm a super admin and I try and do that, I'll get an error. So I want to fall back to the standard way of doing things. So as an admin, I can access the email as well. So this is what we're going to do now. So this is going to be if non-admin user, then we will say user is equal to admin directory dot users dot get. In our get, the first parameter is the account ID that we have. And then after that is a list of parameters. And within this list of parameters, we're going to set the projection to basic. And that just retrieves a smaller list of data about the user. And then here, we want the view type to be domain public. Cool. So anyone who has access to the script can use this and get the correct results. Nice. Now, if that fails because I'm an admin user, we want to jump in our catch here and we'll say if active user is or has admin access, then we just want user to equal admin directory users. Oh, users here. Oh, we should put an S up here. Oh, that's nicer. Glad I found that early. Dot get. And then we want to put in our user keys, and that's going to be the account ID. And for this one, we don't really need to do anything else. I think by default projection is basic, so let's just leave that one out and we should be okay. So now let's just test that. So console.log, and let's just log the result of our admin directory users get request. So user here. Oh, and we should probably make that a JSON stringify so we can see everything inside it. And we'll say user, null, space, save. run. Okay, so now we're using the admin directory, so we need to review permissions again. Yeah, let's do this. Okay, so this first one was using the drive activity stream, and then we got our number, and now we're in the admin directory here, and this is going to retrieve the email based on the ID that we presented, which is going to be the tester@yagisan@today.com, which is exactly what we want. Now, if you just wanted the full object, you could just return root user from here. But for us, we just want the email address here. So the primary email, which is going to be this. So we need to dig down and find this primary email. Let's go ahead and do that and return that next. So that's going to be fairly simple. We'll say const email equals user dot, and it should be just primary email. Yeah, look, it's coming up already. Primary email, done. Return email. Cool. So now we should be console logging that returned email here. Now, let's just hit save. We'll run it with all our console logs in place. So hit run. Email is not a function. No, it's not. It's just a property. Cool. And now we've got our email address returned for the creator for that shared drive. Awesome. All right, let's just go ahead and clean up, get rid of these console logs, and run a final test. Looking a lot tidier now. Let's hit save again. Hit run. Runsies. Cool. Our test has come back. Let's just jump into a non-admin account very quickly, and we'll just share this with our tester. And just grab it, head on over, and paste it in. And we will run our runsies, go through all our authorization. And this time when it ran, because this account is not an admin account, it's going to use this first request. But in our other example here, it would use this second request because this is an admin account. But we're still getting the same data, which is perfect. Okay, so that's how you get get the creator's email of a shared drive in Google Drive with Google Apps Scripts. So if you like this tutorial and you want to see me dive into the weeds of other advanced services within Google Apps Script, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more tutorials like this on Google Apps Scripts and Google Workspace in general, please subscribe and hit that notification bell for when the next tutorial comes out. Until next time.